I'd like to call the regular Board of Education meeting on September 25th to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kelly, will you do roll call, please?
Ms. Flynn? Present. Ms. Hewer?
Here.
Ms. Patchen? Here. Mr. Rakowski?
Excused.
Mr. Singh?
Here.
Mr. Wolf?
Present.
Mr. Zhao?
Here.
Ms. Gadsden?
Here.
Mr. Wade?
Present. Fire exits, Matt.
Emergency exits are at the back of the LGI.
I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of particular individuals for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining with the BEAA and to seek legal advice from the school attorney, attorney-client privilege.
Motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of particular individuals.
You don't have to read it back to me.
Oh,
Just say so moved.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Bill, comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0. Board should return around 7:30. Set up for tonight, we're going to start out with Marist League Scholars. See?
So good evening. Thank you, Mr. White, Dr. Lando, Board of Education members, and community. I'd like to take a moment. I'm Celia Dancer-Rumley, Assistant Superintendent for Instructional Services in the district, and it's my pleasure this evening to introduce to you Ms. Samuel Sims, who's our Assistant Principal at Beacon High School, and Dr. Christina Wright Fields, who is a clinical fellow for community partnerships and a professional lecturer on staff at Marist College and in the School of Social and Behavioral Sciences and the Education Department. And just a brief connection to some that many of you know, we began a couple of years ago as a partnership program with Marist College as a fledgling under a program title of Grow Your Own. This is the evolution of that, and I'd like for Ms. Sims and Dr. Fields to be able to share with you the planning and program development that they have been engaged in on both of our behalfs as we're merging into a new partnership to kick off very shortly this school year. So welcome.
And so we're here today to share a little bit about the LEAD Scholars Program. And so one of the first things I want to share is what does the LEAD acronym actually stand for. So in the context of Marist College, LEAD stands for Learn, Educate, Aspire, and Diversify. And those are going to actually align with the goals of the program. So the main goals of the program is to get students interested in going to teaching. We want them to be aware of the benefits as well as just to be aware of the teaching field in general. We want them to know what it takes to become a teacher. And we want to also develop these college-going behaviors to want to pursue post-secondary education. So the ultimate goal is that we want them to graduate from high school, go to college, go to Marist, major in teacher education, and then come back to Beacon to serve the community here. What we are envisioning for the prospective curriculum is sample lectures. So sample lectures from a lot of my colleagues at Marist College, a lot of teacher education folks. We're also envisioning doing a segment on Teaching 101, making sure that they're aware of the credentials that are required to become an educator here within the state of New York. We also want to incorporate a cultural identity class. So we want students to understand the importance of college choice and college fit, understanding who they are as it relates to what type of institution, what type of major they pursue. And then within the college-going behaviors, we want them to have financial literacy, to understand the difference between loans and grants, what's good debt versus bad debt, to also kind of demystify the application process. And then we also want to focus on time management. And so those are just examples of some of the college readiness topics. So again, we want to also provide them opportunities to network the education faculty, to become familiar with the Marist College, to definitely become aware of college. And then upon participation in the program, if they're eligible, they'll receive an annual tuition grant, depending upon how much participation they had in the program, and meeting the criteria to apply to Marist College. as well as continue enrollment successfully at Marist College.
So in order for our students to be eligible, they have to be 10th and 11th graders here at the high school. They have to be interested in the field of education, and they also have to have a passing score of 65 or greater in all of their courses.
So regarding next steps, we're going to have an informational session this coming Thursday. The students are going to be encouraged to complete an online application, and they're also going to maintain contact with Mrs. Sim if they're interested.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
How are you publicizing this information session? It seems like it's coming up quickly, and it seems like a really great project.
Right. So we started publicizing on the Beacon High School website. So it's up there. We've also had announcements running during the day and in the afternoon for students. Also, our guidance counselors have access to the information. So we've asked them to share information with the students that they have on their roster.
Is there any parental outreach?
Chanice, just come up here so the people on video can hear you.
So is there any parent outreach to get parents involved?
So in conjunction with what's already posted on the Beacon High School website, we're also going to be doing robocalls to ensure that parents who weren't able to get the information on the website, that they know that it's happening this Thursday and that they can come out to get information.
And so will there be another opportunity outside of this day to enroll in the program? Because I think it's such short notice that it doesn't afford parents or students to prepare.
Right, so this is just an information session. If they would like to have more information, I'm always available. So I'm a contact at the school. The application will not be released until October 2nd. So there will be time for students to know about the program and to apply. And the application date that will close on the 13th, October 13th.
Is this PowerPoint presentation on the website?
No.
Is that something that's possible that we can do? Just
Yes,
so
definitely.
Can make the information session can actually go through the program?
Yes, definitely.
Is there a particular curriculum that the students have to follow, or you prefer they follow at the high school in order to, have the best chance at getting a scholarship?
Okay, so it's not. So this program is just to help students who have an interest in teaching. So there's really no background knowledge that they need to have in education. It's about preparing them, giving them college readiness skills, and also assisting them to take that next step into college to major in education.
And the Marist program, I assume it's all the way through to your master's?
This would only be in place currently right now for the undergraduates.
Okay, so 4 years?
4 years if they maintain being a successful student at Marist.
Okay, so they'll graduate, but they won't be have their master's yet, so they still have to go on for that.
Yeah, we're still figuring out that portion
Do
of
you
the
have a
pipeline.
5-year program or something to?
So the teacher education program does have a 5-year, and I
Okay.
know they changed a couple of the different curriculum requirements regarding that 5-year. So
Okay.
they restructured it.
So they could go into your 5-year program, but they'll still only get the scholarship for the first 4 years, and then have to
We're
look for
still working out those
alternate
cases.
funding for the 5th year. Okay.
I don't have a definitive answer
I
to
just
that.
had a
Probably
question as
better
well.
if it was 5 years, but.
Anthony?
A couple questions. Yeah, so for 10th and 11th graders, how are you trying to maximize the interest, knowing that maybe there are some 10th, 11th graders that may not know what they want to do when they grow up. Not that I know what I want to do when I grow up, but they get them, at least rope them in, at least try the program.
Well, we do have a maximum of 25 seats. So although we are sending the information out, we would like to be able to really get students who know that they are interested in education, although it is open to every single student. And that's why the guidance counselors are also aware, because they know what track our students are on so that they can help to get students to apply.
So what if you're not, so what happens if you fall below the 25? I mean, do we know now if there are 50 students who want to be teachers?
Do we know now?
Yeah.
No. We don't know the number.
They don't know that number until the applications are submitted, I believe.
And how are you promoting the diversity with the applicant pool? How are you, in other words, how are you encouraging a diverse pool of applicants?
So the information, again, has been sent out to all of our students, and we are working to ensure that every single student is represented, and so that's how we're working on that.
So the scholarship portion depends on how much participation the student does. What does that mean? What define that?
So, may I?
Yeah.
So I've been part of the discussions and what we're in the process of finalizing, and that we have this draft right now is a memorandum of understanding between the school district and Marist College, so that it stipulates exactly what students and families could expect at the entrance of going into Marist. And I believe right now what it looks like is it's a $5,000 tuition scholarship that will be offered to students for participation as a lead scholar in their high school years.
Right. And we are looking at students who have 75% attendance at the meetings to be considered for that as well.
Are the meetings, is it like an after-school?
Meredith, can you use your mic just so people know?
Are the meetings, is it an after-school club, or where, are they taking place at Beacon High?
Yes.
Okay.
So they'll take place here after school on Thursdays,
Okay.
twice a month.
And then we're also envisioning that they come on campus at least once a year.
And would that be, I'm just wondering, like, in terms of transportation and stuff like that would just be arranged? Everyone would go together?
Yes, that's part of the district's obligation or commitment to the programming. We provide for transportation in the form of field trips, per se, and on-site work at Marist.
Last question, Anthony?
Just one. Are we encouraging the students to go through the program and come back to Beacon, or is just this program is just to get Beacon students to, grow your own? I thought was to come back to Beacon.
So she says that.
So, all right. And then the other thing was there was a slide on there about the cultural identity. Is there a feedback loop from when you collect your data to what we would need to do here to create an environment that will help them in their success as they start their job here and stuff like that?
So is there a mentor that would work with them? Once they're done?
Yeah, I mean, as they go through their own cultural identity, and I'm not saying that we're going to pretend to impose one on them. They may feel that that an environment where free thinking or something, and we would need that feedback loop back to see how it fits into curriculum, I guess. I'm sure it does at some point, but is there a feedback loop from the students back to us so that when they start working for us, it's more welcoming to them?
I'm not sure how that fits into the cultural identity piece of this curriculum.
Okay.
So it could be that I think I understand what you're saying, but you're talking about if they were to be hired with Beacon.
Yes.
So that's way down the line. So I'm not sure exactly how I could respond to that.
Okay. I mean, it may not be evident, it may not be obvious now, but
Right.
I was hoping for some feedbacks later on, I guess, when the program is maybe in its second year or something like that.
Okay.
Yes, I do have one more last question after Anthony said there's no more questions. So who's the liaison at the high school? Who's the?
I am.
You're working.
Yes. I am.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
You don't have questions for Anthony?
Well, there's more suggestions.
All right, Mr. Soltish.
I just want to say briefly before Brian starts, The way the current field trip policy reads, I don't have it right in front of me, but field trips are subject to approval by the superintendent. Sometimes districts, if they have either international field trips or overnight field trips, those are board approved. Our policy just reads superintendent approved. So Brian's here to talk about his planned, in the early stages, but planned field trip for 8th graders to Washington, D.C. at the end of the year. We're excited about that. And I did approve it, but we thought it would be very important to come before the board, talk about the trip with you all, and hear your feedback, questions, and concerns that you have about it too.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. I was worried I would get the thumbs up or thumbs down from the panel right at the end, so that's taking a lot of pressure off me. So I am here, and I put on my patriotic tie because I'm proposing the trip to Washington, D.C. I will tell you from my own experiences going through school and looking back on it, what I remember most are the experiences of going out on field trips, the overnight trips. Those types of events stay with you forever. And in looking at Rombout in my time there, I look at all the other middle schools in the area with the exception of one, which I won't mention. And they all go on a 3-day, 2-night 8th grade trip to mostly Washington, D.C. I'm sure some of them may go other places, Philadelphia or Boston, but the majority go to Washington, D.C. And we're one of the only schools that's not providing that opportunity or offering that opportunity to our students. And for me, that's a hard thing, and I want that opportunity for the students at Rombout Middle School. Now, the trip that I'm proposing would run from Wednesday, May 30th through Friday, June 1st. It would be 2 nights. We would leave Wednesday morning on charter buses. We would get to D.C. We have a 3-day itinerary set. To give you an idea of what that itinerary would be, we would be day 1, arrive in Washington, D.C., explore D.C., photo stops at the White House, Washington Monument, World War II Memorial. We'd go to the Smithsonian's, not all of them, but a few of them. We would have lunch provided. We would go to Museum of Natural History. We would have a night tour of Washington, D.C., including the Lincoln Memorial, the Korean War Veterans Memorial, and the Vietnam Memorial. That would just be day 1. Day 2 would include Mount Vernon, Arlington National Cemetery with the changing of the guards, the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, Kennedy grave sites, photo stop at the Marine Corps War Memorial, Mount Vernon Mansion and Grounds, Museum and Education Center, and George Washington's tomb. We'd have an evening activity that night. And on day 3, we would visit the U.S. Capitol and Visitor Center for a tour, a photo stop at the U.S. Supreme Court and the Library of Congress. We'd explore the Tidal Basin, FDR Memorial, MLK Jr. National Memorial, and the Jefferson Memorial before returning back that evening. With the company that I have been in touch with, it is Explore America. They gave me like magazines and stuff just in case you wanted to see things. It is a big-time company that does an all-inclusive package, so their price includes everything we need from busing to hotels to meals to the tours to the guides. They provide you security at the hotel for outside the rooms for the evening so that the adults can also sleep at some point prior to the next day. The price for the trip is going to range between $600 and $625 per student, depending on the number of students we get to enroll. Obviously, as you work with buses, the more full the buses are, the price can go down. So if we get approximately 135, 140, we would be looking at 3 buses of $600 a student. If we fall below that number, we might be closer to $625 a student, depending. And if we go over 3 buses into 4, it will depend on where we land with that 4th bus, whether it's full, half full, things of that nature. I'll continue on a little more, and then I'll take any questions that you have for me. The company that I would like to use, which is Education First, also does the trips for both Wappingers Middle Schools, Van Wyck and Wap Junior, as well as Unionvale. All the schools are happy with them. There are also a few of the other middle schools in the area that may be converting to them. Just to give you an idea of who else they work with. In terms of what I plan to do, I plan to have a parent meeting next Tuesday evening that will advertise. I will explain the process. We will open an enrollment period at which time parents will have the opportunity to enroll. They basically create a contract with the company, so we don't handle any money. They have a contract with EF Tours. All the money is handled by them. The accounts go through them. We will do our own fundraising. We can then, through the PTO, our fundraising monies can get sent to the company, along with a spreadsheet of what students would get, how much money taken off of their trip. They do offer multiple ways to pay for the trip. There is obviously pay all at once. There is a monthly or monthly payment, which you can do like an automatic payment out of a bank account or a credit card, and that will run you monthly payments all the way until the month before the trip. And then they have another option where you can pay more infrequently, and that has to be paid up 75 days before the trip is underway. We would go through all that information with parents. We are looking to create a scholarship fund to help and assist families that want their child to go on it but may not be able to afford the entire trip. So just to give you an idea of what our plans are, we've applied already for the Community Foundation grant, which can get us up to $2,000 if they approve it. So that application is in already with this trip. We have next Saturday, this Saturday, I shouldn't say next Saturday, this Saturday, let's clarify that, September 30th, the Freedom Ford Test Drive event, in which we have hopes of splitting $6,000 with the high school if we can get enough people to come out. So if you're listening to this, come out and drive some cars from 10 to 3 at Beacon High School. We're also looking for a few volunteers, so if anybody here wants to help out, feel free to come by. You just go in the cars and do a little test driving with people who are driving. So we have the ability to get $3,000 there. $2,000 is my hope on the community grant. We are going to run a fundraiser that we are in the works of doing, which is going to be sold mostly to elementary students. I've already talked to the City of Beacon, and we're going to do raffle tickets at the elementary schools to win a ride on a fire truck to school one day. So the winner at each elementary school would get picked up one morning by a fire truck. The fire truck would drive that child to school and drop them off. So if any of the elementary people are listening, I'm sorry, but we got this one first. All the thanks goes to Mr. Castoldi, because he's the one that told me about this fundraiser that he's aware of from another location. I've got.
Is there a limit to the number of tickets?
No. As many tickets as you want. But I've already been in contact with Beacon, so all three of their fire companies would go, one for each elementary school. And I'm in contact with Slater Chemical to see if they would take care of Glenham. Beacon has already said if there's any issues, they will bring the child in for Glenham into the Beacon City School District boundaries in the chief's car, put them onto a fire truck, and drive them to Glenham. But Glenham's always been great, Slater Chemical. They just haven't had a board meeting yet, so they just need to have a board meeting and make sure that it's a go with them as well. So that's a big fundraiser. The PTO is going to donate money that we would usually use for an 8th grade trip to try to support the scholarship fund. And we have a form already created where families will be able to request assistance. The tough part this year will be it's tough to tell people how much we can provide before we make the money to be able to give it to them. So we are very hopeful that the Freedom Ford Test Drive is a big success on Saturday. That money I'll be immediately able to divvy out to families to help them. We will also have individual fundraising opportunities, that the expectation would be anyone that we're assisting will have to independently fundraise. Fundraisers that we've done, the PTO, I think it's Gertrude Falk Chocolate. So we usually will do the Gertrude Falk Chocolate. So any 8th grade student that participates in that, the money they make from that will go directly to their account if they want to attend the trip. So I'm hopeful that we'll have at least 3 or 4 fundraisers that a student may do independent of anyone else to raise money for themselves for the trip. I've been talking for a while, haven't I? I'm trying to eliminate any questions, but I'm going to take it. Hold on. Let me just make sure I've got everything off my list. All right, I think that's everything I want to
Ryan, you would never eliminate a question from this board.
No, I wasn't question. I was going to say.
I will just tell you that first.
If you have your raffle information ready before this weekend, there's the Touch a Truck.
We are.
I'm working on that. So that, I mean, you can capture all the truck crazy elementary school kids in one location.
Yes. So we are going. The raffle tickets will be $5 a piece, or 3 for $10. That's the deal. All right. So 3 for $10. We're trying to throw a bargain out there. It's once in a lifetime thing getting driven in on a fire truck. So.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, a couple of questions.
Sure.
I assume you already checked the schedule. There's no mandatory state tests or anything else that's going on?
No, it's after state testing,
Okay,
as
I
well
figured it
after
was,
state
but-
testing.
You're aware of our requirements as far as bus inspections?
Yeah, we submitted the bus companies to EF, Explore America, and then they take everything from there. So they have our approved list from transportation, and they will make a contract with one of those companies.
What if you don't get enough chaperones? Because, I mean, there is a cost to that as well.
We are going to go on a 10-to-1 ratio of staff members from the school only.
Okay.
No parent.
No. The plan is to only go with staff from our district.
Okay, so you already have enough people then?
Yeah, in talking to other schools, there's no school where everybody goes on this trip for a variety of reasons. But at 140, you're talking about 14 staff members. Obviously, me being number 1 on that list. But I've got a variety of teachers. There'll be some 8th grade teachers that maybe can't go because of commitments here. But I've got teachers already just scratching at the door that want to go on the trip with us. And the teachers who stay behind will pick up the slack. And we will try to do things for the students that stay behind. Where they're getting some experiences as well. So the idea isn't if you don't go, you're being punished for not going. It's just, this is an opportunity that I really want the kids to have, and I want them to be able to make a choice about whether they want to do that or not.
I mean, I've been on a lot of chaperone trips, especially Sergeant. For years, the 5th graders used to do the Washington trip, and it's probably one of the top trips as far as an educational trip. Mustang turbocharged for first Saturday?
I'm not going to comment on what vehicles are coming, only because I know a little bit, but the Ford F-150 will be there.
All right. If it's a Pinto, I'm not coming. And finally, one last thing, maybe if you can modify the agenda. I mean, the Korean War Memorial, all those soldiers were built right here at Talix in Beacon, so it would be really cool when you're on the National Mall if you were to bring the students by the Korean War Memorial, since there is a local touch there.
Yeah, great idea. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions, Anthony?
Yeah, so just to piggyback on the list, I mean, it's a very impressive list of the places, but I was wondering if there was any room to try to make it a little more diverse as the newly National Museum of African American History and Culture, and there's the National Museum of American Indian that's down there, and I've been there. And then there's the Smithsonian. One of the Smithsonians, I think it may be the American Art Museum, where they talk about restoration and preservation and stuff like that, which for us here in Beacon, we have a lot of art. So I was hoping if there was a way to include or switch or something.
The itinerary we had so far was created by the actual company. They're open to suggestions if we want to try different things, but they did say, we're subject to availability, things of that nature. One of the things we had talked about was, the Holocaust Museum as well, but that's a tough one to get in there, just because of availability. So the tour company did say, we can talk about different things. So when we talk about day one in the Smithsonian's, we're not limited there, so there might be other opportunity based on time when we get there for where we're heading, based on the size of our group and the availability of what's there.
Any other questions?
Yes, just, so is there a plan to continue this annually so that every eighth grader has?
You know, once you get this kind of thing in place, you don't stop, you know?
Right,
So-
my nephew is in seventh grade. I would like to-
So just to give you an idea, what's tough about, and I want to get this off the ground, which is huge for me. In future years, we can start to prepare for it with our seventh grade. So our PTO is already talking about creating an account for the sixth grade and the seventh grade so that scholarship account can start to build prior to them getting in eighth grade. Because once they're in eighth grade, we're trying to fundraise right now to be able to support people to go. It's very hard to do that in a timely manner because they're going to have to sign up, and we're going to be doing everything we can to get as much money in the pot so we can tell families what we can do to help them out. Where having it ahead of time, you already know how much you can give out in scholarship. So if there's any local businesses that are listening or tuning into us, we might be reaching out to them as well to see if they're willing to put their name on a scholarship or a few scholarships to some students.
That's actually a good idea. I mean, have you reached out to the Beacon Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah,
Right.
we're gonna put a letter together and reach out to anybody willing to donate. So anyone willing, we'll tell them the money's coming from their business and however they want to give it, we will be more than happy to accept that.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All tomorrow,
All right, so reviewing the agenda, we do have a correction. 12.03, C1 and 2 has been removed from the agenda. That's on the instructional list. Besides that, we have no other corrections to the agenda. So we have student and school presentations.
Well, hello, board members, superintendent, assistant superintendent, public, community members. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Emilio Giordano. I'm the most recently elected president of the CSEA unit that represents bus drivers, monitors, security people, technology, custodians, maintenance and grounds. I believe that's everybody. I just wanted to first off thank Anne Marie and Ron for allowing us to use the buses at the Spirit of Beacon yesterday. Bless you. We last year the unit had marched in the parade under the label CSEA. This year we have lost a head bus driver by the name of Deborah Embridge, and she was a very big advocate for the Spirit of Beacon Day. She always organized the buses and everything like that for that day. So we figured in her honor, we had decided to ride the buses in her memory. So I have a couple pictures here that we took from that day. As you can see, we decorated one of the buses, and as a memorial, we had a great support from transportation and even from building personnel showing up and showing their respects. And again, I really can't stress how thankful I am for Anne Marie and Ron to let us do this. She made a huge impact for transportation, and she was always concerned about safety. So here's just a couple of pictures that we happened to take. Another thing I want to touch base on is that this year, I'm very big on helping kids and helping them grow and promote self-confidence and just the whole idea of never giving up on your dreams and whatnot. So one of the things I'm trying to instill in my unit is community work. So a couple of things that we could do within the next 10 days is we're going to be showing up at a couple events. One of the events is actually Saturday, and Kristen knows what I'm talking about. I was with her at the Grill last year for the Touch a Truck event.
Right, all day.
And it was a really big success. This year, the new director of facilities, Anthony D'Amato, had worked it out that Beacon will not only have buses there, but we're gonna have the rack truck and the dump truck there, along with a wide area mower. And yes, I will be behind the grill again this year. So, the second thing that we're really gonna get involved in, and we're really, really excited about this, just to feed off of the whole scholarship conversation that we've been bringing up over and over again. Mr. Giametto had an idea to add a new tradition to homecoming. And he thought, what's a football game without tailgating? So he had asked other groups if they would mind doing a concession stand. And some of them didn't want to get into it, so they asked us. And we were more than happy to do it. So this year, right before the parade, right at Memorial Park, across from Ron's Ice Cream Shop, we're going to have a concession stand. All the proceeds we decided to collect and put towards a scholarship fund for a special ed or special needs student that graduates in June. We decided to do this in honor of a bus driver who had passed a couple of years ago, Benny Garcia, and he was a big advocate for special ed and special needs students. So in his honor, we decided to do this. So, and that's going to be the first fundraiser that we're attempting to do this year for that cause. We're in the works in organizing and planning a variety show at the high school where we want to, the goal is to get all the PTOs involved so that when they have an opportunity to have a fundraiser and have the students work concession stands in the lobby as a variety show goes on, and that way any money they collect, they get to keep for their PTOs. So you can, Rombo, you can use that money for that class trip to DC. So that's the idea. That's what we have planned for this year. I just wanted you guys to know that even though we're not traditionally known to work with the kids, we do have a big belief that we encourage the children to be successful and reach out for their aspirations. So I'm hoping everyone that hears this is going to show up to these wonderful events. Saturday between 10 and 3 o'clock, right, Kristen? Yep. I don't want to misinform anybody.
But there's a lot of signage about it. I don't want to have the wrong time.
Okay.
So I just know I signed up for like a block of volunteers.
Okay. Well, I believe it's 10 to 3. I think that's what the flyer said. It's a great day for the family and whatnot. I enjoyed myself last year.
Yeah.
It was hot behind that grill, but I saw the activities and everyone seemed to enjoy themselves. So anybody that's listening, come down and support for great fundraising. And I'm hoping to work with all the PTOs on this great idea. So thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
I'm sorry.
Okay, first, I work in special ed, so you have my attention right now. So, what do you have like criteria for the special ed?
Well, the idea was I would work with Cecilia and Dawn to come up with criteria. I think the best way for us to do this is to raise the money and then maybe have the district come up with a standard on who we get the scholarship. And we would like to be part of maybe a committee to make that decision. But I think ultimately, with IEPs and whatnot, we're not privileged to know that kind of information, nor do we want to. So we figured that they would be the best people to help us with that.
Any other questions?
Going once?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm volunteering Georgia for the committee.
Sure, that'd be wonderful.
Thank you so much, and you guys don't sell yourself short. Usually, I have 3 little ones that take the bus. And the bus drivers are the first ones they see, last ones they see when they get home from school. So they recognize, and I always hear the stories about the bus rides and about the custodians and everybody else. So you guys are a heartbeat of the district. You may be behind the scenes, but yet you are definitely a big part of the district. So don't sell yourself short.
Well, I appreciate that.
Do we have any parent groups?
Is that above average meeting so far? I'm really enjoying myself. Seriously. Hi, I'm Lori Murdage. I'm here to talk on behalf of Beacon Arts and Ed Foundation. First, apologies for getting up here to speak a little late. Normally, I'd love to do it at the very beginning of the school year. We had a bit of a delay having our organizational board meeting, but we had it last week, so I have some things to report. First things first, I wanted to thank everybody who participated in our First Day Beacon fundraiser. What that is we started this last year on the first day of school, and just using social media, Facebook, everybody posts the obligatory first day of school photo. So we encourage folks to spread the word about donating to Beacon Arts and Ed along with their first day of school photos on social media, using hashtag First Day Beacon, Arts for Smarts, and kind of directing people over to our website to get donations. And we didn't earn as much this year as we did last year, but we still raised almost $500 in one day, which was great. And I think a wonderful reminder of the parents' desire to see more arts integration into their kids' curriculum. So, upcoming things, we have a concert benefit fundraiser coming up, which we're really excited about. Stephen Clare, who's a local musician and who runs the Beacon Music Factory, which is a music school in town, generously offered to hold a fundraiser for us where his band is going to be performing, and that's going to be on October 21st of this year. At 8 p.m. The location is L&J Tech Services. It's actually the former Max Protec building at 4 Hannah Lane in Beacon. It's kind of across from Memorial Park. It's a great space. Tickets will be limited because they do have a maximum capacity for the building, but tickets are going to be $15 in advance, $20 at the door. We're going to be selling the tickets online, probably via Eventbrite or one of those online agents. As soon as I have all that info, I'm going to share that with you, and of course, send it out to everybody. All the proceeds of this fundraiser are going to benefit the Beacon City School District music programs. So that was part of the main goal of the fundraiser, was to support music. So we're really excited to be teaming up with these folks to do just that. Do I have anything else to say about that? No, I think that's it. So, next, getting an early start on promoting the 2018 Calico Ball is something that we're trying to do this year. 2018 will be the 29th year of the Calico Ball. And what the Calico Ball is, for those of you who may not know, every third grader in the Beacon City School District works with artists from the Vanover Caravan. It's a 10-week music and dance residency that culminates in one of the most meaningful and moving performances that students and their families experience in their entire time in the school district. What Beacon Arts and Ed would love to do this year is to bring Livia Vanover into our third grade classrooms a little early this year, in the fall or the winter, just to kind of get that ball rolling and start talking about the countries that the various students will be learning about in their dances that they're going to be learning in the spring and when the residency begins. Her whole main goal is to ask the question, why do people dance? And talk about the cultures of the different countries that they'll be reviewing with, to introduce the students to those countries. And the hope is that we can work with the district, the teachers and administrators to further integrate these ideas into the curriculum over the course of the year. As an example, we would love to be working with specialist teachers, maybe creating art, reading books, learning certain games in PE, listening to music from these various cultures, so that the Calico Ball can become kind of a deeper essential learning experience for the students in the third grade. And of course, most importantly, working with administrators regarding giving teachers that planning time to really try to incorporate some of these ideas into their lessons. So just to kind of create a more well-rounded experience for the kids and for their families through the course of the year, and then have that culminate in the ball, which happens in June of every year, as you know. One other thing is our music donation that we've been giving. Beacon Arts and Ed have been giving each year to the music departments. We've been donating $2,500 a year to support the BCSD music programs since the 2014-15 school year. Last year's donation was delayed We had some unspent funds from previous donations, but now we plan to work more closely with the music faculty to assess the needs and also get examples of where our donated money is going. We found that our donors really like to see, evidence and photos or video of, where their donations are going. And then also we can set goals. We're trying to raise X number of dollars for these musical instruments or something like that, so that we can sort of present this goal to the public, and they can then donate, given their interest in growing the music program, which we've gotten a ton of great feedback. Of course, Beacon Advocates for Music is also part of one of the organizations that we want to support as well. So this year, we plan to give a total of $5,000 to the music departments. This is for the purchase of instruments, instructional materials, etc. So that will cover our 2016-17 donation as well as our 2017-18 donation. We're looking forward to meeting with the faculty from the art and music departments. That's happening tomorrow. We're going to assess their needs and further collaborate on ideas of how we can make this a more streamlined process. Get the money to where it needs to go, get those instruments or whatever in the hands of the kids as soon as possible, without any delay. At the end of the day, Beacon Arts and S has set as one of our main priorities bringing more integrated arts programming to the high school level, especially. We're currently reviewing a couple of new programs to propose in the near future, so more on that as that develops. And we're here, and thank you all for your time and, of course, your support. Looking forward to working towards an even greater partnership with the district going forward. So, thanks.
Thank you. Any other parent groups? Seeing none, open to the public. I had one person sign up, Julie Murphy.
Okay, let me start off by apologizing. I'm going to be the Debbie Downer to this very positive meeting, and I'm very sorry that I need to do that. But just in fairness to the taxpayers and to our children, I do feel as though I need to speak out. My name is Julie Murphy. I'm a resident of Beacon, the mother of 2 children attending Beacon City Schools, and a taxpayer on 2 properties in the city. This evening, I'm here to share with you my deep concerns about the recent actions of this Board of Education. I would appreciate it if this time my First Amendment right to speak at this meeting was honored, unlike the last time when the current BTA President John Burns and Mr. Atwell took it upon themselves to call my employer in an attempt to disparage me at my workplace after I spoke at a meeting. At the last Board of Ed meeting held on Monday, September 11th, this board authorized the approval of Resolution 091117B, which gives Mr. Atwell with $24,000 of taxpayer money to pay for the legal fees he incurred to defend himself in a federal lawsuit. This lawsuit was brought forth by his ex-wife in response to his attainment and community-wide distribution of his ex-wife's private and personal emails. As I stated at a previous Board of Ed meeting, the lawsuit is a civil matter between a husband and a wife for actions that took place in the privacy of their own home. Any monetary compensation Ms. Pilla could possibly gain would be paid by Mr. Atwell himself and not by the school district. In 2016, Mr. Atwell filed the first of 2 Article 78 petitions against the district, requesting that you, the board, defend and indemnify him. The school's insurance company and this board publicly stated that they would not pay any monies to support a federal lawsuit involving private and personal emails. Since the Article 78 did not result in a satisfactory outcome for Mr. Atwell, an appeal was filed for which there has been no decision rendered. However, the resolution on Monday, September 11th, approved that the school's insurance company will pay $50,000 of Mr. Atwell's $74,000 legal fees, and that the district will pay the remaining $24,000. This item was not pulled from the consent agenda, and there is no discussion on this matter for the benefit of the taxpayers. I find this extremely discouraging after all of your promises of transparency. So my questions for this board. Why did this board treat this proposal as part of a consent agenda without discussing the merits in public? What new information was presented to you and the school's insurance company that you both decided to overturn your initial decisions of non-payment and choose to gift monies to Mr. Atwell when no legal obligation has yet been established? How do 3 board members not recuse themselves from this resolution based upon a conflict of interest? The president, who continues to maintain a long-standing, close personal relationship with Mr. Atwell, and he, along with 2 others who were complicit in the distribution and improper use of the stolen emails, and all 3 who are also named in the lawsuit along with Mr. Atwell. I just find it difficult to believe that under these circumstances that you find yourselves capable of making an objective decision that has the taxpayers and the children's best interest in mind and not your own. Quite frankly, you use the terms corruption and collusion myriad times to describe the actions of the former superintendent and PTA president. But I want you to understand, what do you think this all looks like right now? And I hate to have to bring it up,
That's
but...
fine. Thank you. Any other public comment? Seeing none, we're going to move forward. Superintendent report.
All right. I just want to say some thank yous really quickly. Emilio, your presentation was very inspiring tonight. I just want to add that besides the board, Emilio was the very first person I think I spoke to in the district. When I came for the day before I was hired, he was the first person to talk to me. So thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. I was pretty nervous that morning, and he reached out. And I think tonight what you talked about is very, very inspiring and is totally in line with my experiences in schools too. So thanks for you and your unit for what you're doing. Lori, I also just want to comment, thanks for the efforts of BAEF. I think your points about making the Calico Ball more integrated curriculum-wise make a lot of sense. My experience is that takes time, but we really want to work as a team with the teachers and administrators to see if we can start taking some steps to do that, because it makes sense. I just have some updates. First, it was really fun to march with board members. What was it? Just yesterday? It can't be just yesterday at the Spirit of Beacon Parade. That was a really great experience. It was really cool to see so much of our school district involved in that, and it was just another example of what a strong community this is. And along with that, I wanted to make some updates about things that I'll be doing over the next couple of months in terms of community outreach. There'll be more than what I share, but these are the things that are being planned right now. I will be continuing the community conversations. I took a little hiatus from that because I needed to start a school year, and that was pretty busy. But I'm going to start carving out some more time to start Community Conversations 2.0. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to be a lot different than what I did back in July, but obviously these conversations will be talking about more concrete steps we can be taking as a district. I need to finalize this, but I've gotten at least the email thumbs up that we can have one at the Beacon Housing Authority, their community room, Thursday evening, October 5th. So I think we're shooting for 6:30 for that, so 6:30 to 8:30. We will be starting to publicize that on social media and some flyers. I'll be visiting a few churches in the month of October also, just to kind of say hi and let people kind of know who I am and a little bit about the district, however much time, if they give me 2 minutes, 5, whatever. So I'll be visiting Springfield Baptist Church on October 1st. I'll be visiting New Visions Church on October 22nd. I'm working on some others, Beulah Baptist, and a few other congregations over the next few months, just to say hi on a Sunday morning and at least hopefully make myself more available to community members and people connected with the district. The last thing, the board's going to act tonight on a potential capital project. I won't speak concretely about it until that actually happens, but I will say if it moves forward tonight, we will be doing a lot of different things to communicate that project, one of which we want to do, Anne Marie and I and Anthony D'Amato and in some cases John Giametta, talk about the project to all the PTAs who are willing to have us. So we'll be reaching out to individual school PTAs. We'd love to be coming to different PTA meetings throughout the month of November. The proposed vote would be December 5th for this. And so we're excited to be doing that. We also won't be just doing it in schools. We hope to have 1 to 2 community events where we talk about that vote and that capital project too. You'll be learning a little bit more about it later tonight, but we know that the community needs to find out about it just by us reaching out. We'll be doing some other things like some social media things and some a mailer as well. Last thing I want to say is we are working on adding our student board member. And our hope is that we can add our student board member for the October 23rd board meeting. I'm working with high school administration right now to develop process and criteria, and so we'll be announcing that hopefully in the next week. And it's a little bit of a crunch for us, but our hope is that we can get somebody in place by October 23rd, or at the very least November. But besides that, it's been a great start, and again, thanks to the people who spoke earlier. And one other announcement, Brian talked about it, but on Saturday, along with the Touch a Truck at Glennon, we do have this event at the high school. Freedom Ford reached out to school district folks actually back in the spring before I arrived. They've been trying, it's a corporate thing that Ford does, and they do it with just a few dealers across the country every year. The Freedom Ford has been trying to do this for several years. They finally got the okay from corporate to do it. They wanted to connect with the school district. We thought since it was, all the cars are going to be parked over by the high school that we should focus on the high school and Roundabout. So the funds that go towards the high school are going to be going to support their PBIS program. So they're looking to do some incentives for students and kind of beef up their incentive program. So monies raised will go to the high school PTA, which will then support the PBIS program. And then Brian talked about, we hope that we're able to raise $3,000 for the high school and then an additional $3,000 for Roundabout, which will go towards the trip. Brian, I just want to say thanks for moving that forward. You talked about it this summer. I totally left you alone. I wanted to see what you were going to do with it, and you are making it happen. So I love to see that, and we are going to really work hard on fundraising. So if you come between 10 and 3, the cars or trucks are going to be parked in front of the high school, and test drives are not, for 50 miles. They're just down the road and back. So you can just take 5-10 minutes of your day, do that, and for each test drive, Ford will donate $20 to that $6,000 total. You can only do once, so bring a friend or bring a family member or something. But we hope to have a big turnout. We hope to get the the $6,000 total. So thank you.
What are the hours on the
10 to 3.
So same hours as the touch truck?
But the good thing is that the touch truck, often there's some parking situations at Glenham, and one of the things that helped us last year was that there was a Fishkill Recreation Day, so people, if they couldn't find parking, they could go over to that. So this year we could just say, head over to the high school, drive a car, and then come back.
Can we drive from the high school over to Glen?
Trucks. Yeah, maybe they can ferry people back to the road.
Alrighty, Craig, committee reports.
Thank you. There's so much to talk about, some good presentations tonight. Since Mike Rutkowski is not here tonight, I'll pinch hit for him and talk a bit about the Facilities and Operations Committee. By the way, we are now conferencing in Anthony D'Amato, who's our new Buildings and Grounds person on a regular basis there. It's good to have him aboard and to have the regular contact, and as well as the details of the capital program, but also just how things are going in all our buildings and grounds. So it's better communication, and he's a pretty live wire who's got a lot to say, and it's good to hear. So as Dr. Landau expressed, we do have a fairly elaborate plan for rolling out the details of what we're doing with the capital plan. There's a mailer, there's posters for each building being worked up, talking points so that building administrators and even sports coaches have working knowledge of what's being proposed. And I mention sports coaches because one of the major items is an artificial turf field at Hammond Field. And this is expected to increase the usage and the hours of usage and how fast you can recover from a storm by using this new kind of approach. It's not new to the world, it's just new to us, and it's been talked about before, but this time it's on the list. Community meetings, website, the PTA, PTSO groups, even soccer club and Beacon Rec would be on the list, and of course more workshop presentations at the board meeting. So the communications committee for the project includes Dr. Lando, Mrs. Corderoni, Mr. D'Amato, and Mr. Giametta, our new athletic director. I want to point out that there has been some discussion. It is only discussion at this point. We're looking into it, and I don't know if we can do it, but there has been the subject raised about lighting at Hammond Field. And this might be something that happens, and it might be something that doesn't. There is concern about spill onto neighboring homes. So don't anybody say that this is going to happen, only that we're looking at it, and we'll see whether it's feasible. There are obviously advantages to being able to do things at night, but on the other hand, we have to be mindful of our neighbors. So I think that there's a long list of other things we went through that I'm not going to go over, but rest assured that we do have a system so that at least one board committee is being made aware of things that are happening at various buildings, and I think that's going to help in the long run, maybe even in the short run. So as Dr. Landau said, we have this vote coming up December 5th, and we think this is a fairly well put together program that we've been going over in great detail for a number of months now. And we're not done yet, but we're on a good path. There are other things to be done later tonight, and we can address those when they come up on the agenda. What else did I want to say? I attended what was called the Glenham Charrette, which is a exercise in planning and thinking, as well as a tour. This is the former Texaco facility in Glenham in the town of Fishkill. Mrs. Hewer is the usual delegate from this board who attends those, and I did some substitute for her. I'm familiar with this going back a long ways. It's been like 7 years of discussion so far, literally, and they're not done yet. About the only thing that's really clear at this point is nobody's really thinking seriously about industrial. There's not going to be another Texaco there. It looks like people are talking about residential, possibly some other types of mixed use. It does not appear to be a small undertaking. This is a fairly large bit of acreage, including the former recreation field, which goes up near Beacon Hills, and the main campus, which is off of Old Glenham Road. A lot of acreage in there. Could be a lot of impact if that were developed as residential. I think you'd be looking at a fairly large number of homes. But it's still early, despite the 7 years. I found it quite interesting, and I think we do need to keep an eye on it. Beacon Advocates for Music was mentioned, and we have a fundraiser coming up on November 5th in the afternoon at the Dennings Point Distillery. And I don't know if anybody on this board wishes to address the comments that Julie Murphy made relative to the Atwell case. I don't think it's my place to do that, but perhaps someone else would like to take that. I think some kind of responses might be in order. That's it for me.
Okay. Kristen?
I'll be brief. October 11th, I believe, is the Wellness Committee meeting here at the high school. 4 o'clock or 4 o'clock start?
Yes.
Okay. And then just EF tours, just to build confidence in this company. I took a tour to the EF tour to the Soviet Union and disappeared behind the Iron Curtain for 2 weeks, and they brought me back alive. So, you know, this is a smaller ask. And that's pretty much it. It was nice marching.
Jordan?
Okay, so the policy committee met, and on the agenda this evening, there's the first policy read for our district wellness policy. We are still working with the wellness committee, but we needed to have a general policy and police. We're a little behind. We should have had it at the start of the school year. I don't know if Dr. Linda, if you want to mention anything more about it, but we are working still with the Wellness Committee as far as some more specifics that I guess in terms would be more regulation type.
Sure. The Wellness Committee was a very active committee last year from everything I've gathered, and they came up with kind of a working document that was about 20 plus pages. It kind of was a potential policy with a lot of regulations kind of put in. So I communicated with the Wellness Committee in the scheduling of this first meeting that this policy that the board is looking at is just kind of, for lack of a better word, like a temporary policy until the Wellness Committee can work on the one that they started last year. Board is aware of that, so the Wellness Committee is aware. I think we're good to go for that first meeting.
So there's a first reading this evening, and we also have received the remainder of our policy updates from our e-server, so we're going to be looking at that too to see what policies we need to update to. And then the next meeting's in October.
It is October 16th at 7 p.m. And the facility and operations next meeting is at October 18th at 7 p.m. as well. Meredith?
Craig, I want to thank you for going to the design Krishna run. I spoke to Monty McKillop, who's the liaison, and there will be one more opportunity to go through that process on October 11th from 5:30 to 8. I believe it is open to the public. I don't have a contact information there, but the Glennon Mills website, I guess, would have something. I attended the curriculum committee meeting, the first one of the year last week. Cecilia is going to be working on updating a timeline for teachers in terms of putting in requests for new courses. And our next meeting is October 18th at 2:45. And I want to thank, I missed all of everything yesterday, but which I was really sad about, but I just wanted to thank IM Beacon for organizing the run. It sounds like it was a really big success, and they were able to expand their scholarship program. And yeah, it's a great day in Beacon. All the floats sounded amazing. So the spirits were high.
Thank you. Anthony?
Yeah, so first, just my comment. I just want to say my personal opinion that if a member of the public wants to express their concerns or decisions that on any of our decisions, that I want to encourage that they do so and done respectfully. I think it keeps us honest. And while I personally cannot elaborate very much on the topic that was brought up in public comment because it's protected as legal advice, I can say that our decision was not arbitrary nor capricious as alluded to because it wasn't discussed in open session. I do regret missing the Spirit Beacon Day as well. I was teaching in Putnam, and I did look up how Spirit Beacon Day came about, and it looks like it went. There was a discussion back in 1977, and it actually referenced the our high school kids. Just for a number of years, students from the Beacon High School and the community were having some of the problems with racial overtones, and they felt that a community event would bring the spirits up. So it's a note that our children are the reason why we have Spirit Beacon Day. We had a diversity committee meeting at September 14th. There was a report out on well, actually, there was going to be a report out on undoing racism, Black History Month, and progress on the data at the next meeting. We did cover a little bit on it. One of the things that was mentioned is the Calico Ball, that we should start identifying the countries earlier. That way, students can learn about the countries much earlier and increase diversity, learning diversity. And then Matt talked about civil rights exhibit in Charlottesville, that project that the kids put together, and how it how also we can augment Black History Month to meet the new science and social studies curriculum requirements. We talked about barriers. We definitely need more information on barriers, so that's going to be a continuing conversation also at the next meeting. And we kind of, the public is invited to come to the next meeting. We unfortunately have to reschedule it because most of our members will be at the NYSSBA convention. So I propose Wednesday, October 18th at 8:15. So I'm hoping everybody can make it then.
Facilities, what time is facilities? I thought it was 10:18 at
10:16.
Right.
10:18 is facilities and operations
Right,
at
at 8.
7 p.m.
Oh, 7.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
So we figured we'd do it right after facilities.
On the 18th?
On the 18th, yeah.
Show it. 8:15.
8:15, yes. And I don't have yet a date for the next technology committee meeting.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
Yes, I attended the march in the Spirit of Beacon Day Parade. Everybody who went there, it was a good event as usual. It's always great to see the enthusiasm of not only the people who march, but also the enthusiasm and pride of the people in Beacon. I think it's a nice event, and I'm hoping it will continue on. There is a dinner coming up I'd like to attend, and I think it would be beneficial to other board members. I think we all probably got the invitations. It's called Why Civic Engagement Should Matter and the Role Schools Can Play. It's the 40th Annual Hudson Valley Regional Superintendent Board of Education Dinner. Dutchess County School Board Association is one of the sponsors, so if you hadn't received the invitation, you probably should. It's on October 26, 2017 at the Hilton Tarrytown. Starts at 6:30. Dinner is at 7. I mean, I would like to go, and I think other board members might want to go as well.
Can I ask a question? Does anybody else want to go on October 26th, just so we can?
I may want to go, but I have to look at my plan.
So we have Kenya, Georgia, Kristen.
I have to check my calendar.
Anthony, was that possible?
Possible.
I mean, and it says register through your district clerk, so I'm assuming that will.
Yeah, I'm just trying to help spearhead it so I don't have to do it later on.
So you said it's the 26th?
October 26th, yeah, Thursday.
Thursday night, yep.
And then finally, just to echo both Craig and Anthony, was regarding Ms. Murphy's comments. I would like to see us have a response. I know it's difficult to do something sort of extemporaneous at one of these meetings because it is both a personnel issue and a legal issue, and it means there's a certain amount of sensitivity and things that we can't say. So perhaps if there's something that either Anthony you could draft or a lawyer could draft, if you draft something, it probably have to go past the lawyers first, but some sort of response that could address the questions as best as we can, given the nature of the subject matter.
I'll respond to the ones that go to the procedure and
Okay,
so forth,
great.
but not
Okay.
the ones that, of
Yeah.
course, no. Are you done, Bill?
Yes.
So I was totally psyched about Spirit of Beacon Day. I enjoyed marching and waving at the people and being with my co-board members and administration. I love people. And so my family, I have to say publicly, they thought that I was selfish because I only got water for myself and not for you. I justified that by saying I was the only one screaming the whole time. So I just want to say, shout out to all of the schools, parents, teachers. It was just fantastic, like every year. The good news is that Spirit of Beacon Day will continue. I just want to shout out Ms. Rose Story, who's been carrying the torch all of these years, and so therefore she has passed the torch on. And so I got to meet the person who is coordinating for the next year and years to come. So she's totally excited. I did bring up to her my idea about going to the podium with the history of the Spirit of Beacon Day. I think that is very important, and I'm always asking Georgia, and I continue to ask her throughout my career as a board member, why are things the way they are? So Georgia gave me the reasoning, and then I had a better understanding. I was committed to really going out there and showing unity with the people, because that's what it's all about. And so that day for me was priceless. The high school needs your support. The PTA is running Outback Steakhouse $20 deal, and they told me I should just rally the whole board and do what I normally do to get you guys to buy into stuff. So I was like, I harassed them. And so I just want to look at the date again. My phone died to see if it would be possible for us to coordinate, even if we don't go together. It's a good deal. You get steak, and if you're like me who don't eat meat right now, they do have like a nice fish or a nice pasta dish or something like that. But the deal is really sweet for $20. If anyone knows how to contact the advocates for Beacon, I just had for Beacon families, I just needed to get in touch with whoever runs that organization because I have some questions, and I hope I can get that soon. I'm excited about Grow Your Own. It is something that I've been trying to get off the floor. So Celia, my hat's off to you. I'm sure that it has been a lot of work that went into it to get it to where it is, a team effort. So, I definitely say thank you. It's crunch time in the camp, so let's see what we can do to rally the troops. And that always worries me that we get stuff out there that's great, but then we don't have enough time to get it the full impact that it deserves. So hopefully we'll be successful in that. I know that Navian should have started, or the training actually started, right?
We're in process.
So it didn't start yet. The first training didn't happen yet. Okay.
It's a process.
Okay, now the reason I'm asking is, again, that people see me ask these questions and then I get answers, and then people text me on the side like, where is this? Like, you keep asking. So I'm saying it's in the process. I don't want to keep saying it's in the process.
So I'd ask if anybody has questions, well, they can call me directly.
All right, I'll text
Yeah,
them.
thanks.
That's good. I just want to say kudos to I Am Beacon. They increased their numbers. I think there was like 170 runners. So Ruben or Brooke, they probably will be coming to you with some exciting news. I don't want to be the stealer of that because they do such great things for supporting class in the back. So I'll let them come with that information. And the public relations is meeting. I think it's the 19th. It's the Thursday, right? Which is the 3rd.
I had the 16th at 8:15.
I'll see it right before.
Okay, good. What time is that?
October 8:15.
I was gonna say, I said 6:15, that would be like a crisis if I said that. Okay, so I did complete, with the help of the board members and that were on the committee, the information that we needed for the survey. I think I sent it to Matt with like some gibberish, and I said feel free to like critique it anywhere you wish in the final phase. I'm not really stuck on any wording at all. I did it very simple just because I just wanted to happen, so you do what you need to do with it. And I just want to say the same for Ms. Murphy. There is a process, so usually if you have questions that don't get answered here, those questions can be submitted through the process of the board so that you can actually get answers to your questions if they're able to answer them. So those questions may not get answered on this floor, but if you present your questions to the appropriate parties, they will then converse with you to get your questions answered if they can do that, okay? You're welcome.
All right. So the first is that I want to let the board know that we've been in conversation with the city and that there is a proposal to have a joint meeting with the city council on October 23rd, 2017 at 7 p.m. And the reason for that joint meeting will be to get a common understanding of the tax cap. It seems like there's two understandings, so hopefully bringing some together, they would have an outside person come. It was either from the controller's office or we were reaching out to someone from Questar. I believe that the city was able to get someone from the controller's office to come and speak about the tax cap and just how it is in general to the school district and the city. So I know that I asked some availability. If you haven't gotten back to me with a date, if you are available, I just want to make sure that we have a quorum for that. In regards to Ms. Murphy's comments, I will go to the comments about the process and being transparent. I do set the agenda with the superintendent and deputy superintendent. I read a statement before every consent agenda, which allows any board member to pull any item from the consent agenda if they wish to have it be discussed individually. So every board member has that ability to pull any item from the agenda. In regards to being transparent, in the past, we wouldn't have had the full resolution up on the board docs in the public section. We would have had it that there was a resolution and a generic statement, and people would have to foil that request. So putting it up there and making sure that it is transparent to the district constituents, that what is the resolution and what is the actual wordage in the resolution was there for the public to see when the agenda was posted on Friday. So it wasn't like we tried to sneak it by anybody. In regards to the other comments, I'm not going to comment on, as they tend to be more personnel or personal. I have no other comments. All right. Unfinished business. So the first item up on unfinished business is 10.01, which is a vote for a NYSSBA Board of Directors. In the past, we had some discussion about it. We did receive a letter from both of the people running. I know that one went to the Dutchess County School Board Association and talked to the Dutchess County School Board Association about endorsing. The other one is from Florida, the school district, and one is from Ulster BOCES, and is part of the Ulster BOCES School Board Association. So we have to come and, as a board, we make a recommendation as to who we'd like to represent us as the Area 9 Board of Directors. So do I have a motion for Karen or a motion for John Redmond?
I'd like to make a motion for John Redmond.
I'd like to second that.
I'd like to explain why.
Please hold on one second. Comments or questions, Scott?
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Redmond makes the point that he is a member of a school board like us, and that the NYSSBA board is, I don't know if this is true, I'm taking him at his word, is 75% people who are on BOCES boards, which seems to be a little bit out of balance, since there are a lot more regular school boards like ours than there are BOCES boards, logically. So that's a strong point in his favor. And I like his background and the fact that he's had a good experience in a district, a public school district, and a nearby county. Florida is not Florida, the state of Florida. It's a place in Orange County, by the way, in case anybody's new to the area and doesn't know that.
Any other comments? I would like to make a motion for Karen. Is there a second? No? Okay. Comments or questions? No? All right. All those in favor of John?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. 7-1. Thank you. All right, the next was 10.02, which is a resolution, 082817B, and it is about the easement at Dutchess County baseball stadium facility. Is there a motion to accept 10.02, resolution 082817B?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Who's that? Bill? Comments or questions?
Comment. I appreciate you getting back to me and answering questions. For the record, who responded to you with those questions?
Our attorney, Dan.
Okay, thank you. The one thing I noticed that they didn't change was the not calling it a permanent easement. I mean, I'm not going to hold it up for that because it does state in there that it is a easement that will end when we send. So I mean, that's, you know, permanent's a little confusing, but as long as legally it ends when the lease ends, I'm fine with it.
And the other.
That was in the response, I think, from our attorneys, that it's permanent for the life of the lease.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, it's weird.
And the other thing that they wanted to mention was that the county covered the cost of our legal to review it. So we didn't have to pay for our legal to review if the county covered that cost.
That was nice.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Oh, did you have it?
No, pass.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0.
No, 7. Oh, you said 8. I'm thinking 9. I'm writing these numbers down.
All right, Anthony asked for 10.03, which is a discussion of board meeting dates. I need a motion to have a discussion on board meeting dates.
Motion to discuss board meeting dates.
Is there a second?
Second.
Meredith? All right, so there's really no voting going on for this. It's just a discussion, so have at it.
I just want to bring it up because of back in June, we were approving the dates for the 2017-2018 school year. The consensus was to go ahead with the dates on Monday because it would take some time to adjust to any new day of the week, and that we should discuss early on what we're going to do for 2018-2019. So that's why I asked as a procedure, can we start talking about it? Can we decide not to talk about it, or what? I do know that there is still a public want to have our meetings at different dates, so they can go to the city council, even meetings in City Beacon. You know, I myself can't. I mean, I think the only other day that nothing ever happens is Friday, and I don't think anybody wants Friday. But the City Beacon meets on Monday. Planning board meets on Tuesday, and so does, I think the zoning. I forget when the zoning board meets. I looked it up. Town of Fishkill, they meet. Their town council meets on. Their town board meets on Wednesdays. So I don't know when we're going to meet, to be honest with you. But I wanted to key it up so that we don't have this discussion at the last minute.
I've heard the same thing. People have, would like to go to both. I think it does work out well if we coordinate. I mean, I think it'll be hard to move from Monday nights. Any way that we're able to coordinate that we have our meetings on the night of a workshop, because then a lot of that information for city council is available ahead of time. People can look at it, digest it. They're not able to comment anyway, and so if there's an imperfect solution, I think that might be one of them. And that's pretty much all I'm prepared to, offer up tonight. I don't think there's much.
Does anybody else have any discussion about it?
I think Monday is the best day because, as was already pointed out, no matter what day you pick, there's going to be something that's scheduled that somebody's going to now get upset about this being on that day. And definitely Fridays, I don't know any school board. I mean, one of the things that the Dutchess County School Board Association we have in the past ask when people have their meetings, and it's typically Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. Nobody has it on Friday.
We'll be the first.
It'll be Anthony all by himself.
Yeah.
We'll never have a
no quorum ever.
Yeah. And I do agree. I mean, it's if we can arrange it so that we need to have a set schedule on a Monday. I do think if we can have it, even if the city council is alternating, where they're having a public meeting on one Monday followed by a workshop where you can't speak anyway. I mean, they're filmed, so you can certainly go watch a workshop and not feel like you're missing anything since you can't speak anyway. So if we can alternate, where we're having our meeting during their workshops, I think that solves the problem for most people.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing. I mean, I'll watch the meetings and then,
Yeah.
if we're not on, then I'll go if there's something to speak about. As an individual, I'll go speak as an individual.
Any other discussion? Anthony, did you have anything else that you want to add?
No, it sounds like the consensus is that we stay on Monday and that we just avoid the council meetings. We just try to aim at the workshops.
Okay. All right, so 10.04 is discussion about board size. I need a motion to have a discussion about the board size.
Motion to discuss board size, 10.04.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
So I think other people maybe have requested this as well, but I requested to talk about it because I think that part of, even discussing what nights we have the meetings, I think it's good to every once in a while to look at how we're functioning and decide whether or not we're functioning as well as we can. And our board is large for the size of our district. I looked around, and I think Anthony has looked also at the numbers. There's many boards that are, the majority of boards I think are 7 members. There's even some that are 5. So I just wanted, we're all volunteers here. You're sort of taxing the public volunteer pool slightly less if you have a smaller board. The meetings would most likely be slightly shorter. You have a couple fewer opinions. And so I wanted to hear what other people thought about it.
I would just say that I agree that a lot of school boards are at a lower size than ours, and what I've seen, except for a couple of years, a lot of people run in Beacon uncontested. It's the number of seats. So I think it's sometimes healthy to have a competition because then it keeps people, vying. And I think a smaller board can function a little bit smoother. But I also think that the perception would be a smaller board is less voices, but I think it's sometimes more voices because it's a more meaningful voice because it's 1 of 7 instead of 1 of 9. So.
You think like a smaller board is a more meaningful voice? Because I feel like you could get locked in with, like if you get like a trio of individuals who are constantly voting one way,
right.
That then you don't have the flexibility of maybe moving forward with things. And so I kind of hear what you're saying, but I think you said it too. It's like you lessen other people's opinions, so then it becomes more like-minded. Okay, like these 3 are going to rule, and everything's going to get passed because these 3 or 4 people are constantly together.
And I think we saw that in Poughkeepsie. I mean, they had a 5-member board, and they had turnover, and there was turmoil because it was a 5-member. And I think so. What's the balance of 5? It seems small. 9 seems.
And I really don't think it changes how long we sit here, because I think some of these discussions go on because we can't put an end to it. And I really don't think there's any reason why we have to be here at 11:30 doing our consent agenda.
To a different point, related to the board size. One of the things where this discussion started was with our search firm. And it was about scheduling all of us. And that's where our search firm commented about our board size. I actually didn't know that there were different sizes to boards. I assumed we were like the Supreme Court. And I'm not kidding, I did. But I think that it's true. There's 9 members. I know that's we're a on board. I get it, but anyway, I feel like it's. I think right now for how we function, especially because we're getting the committees back up and running and kind of creating that sort of structure. I think the larger size works. I think we do have to think down the road for when, there's maybe the hope is that things are, that people don't think about the schools as much, and maybe there'll be less intense interest, and we want to always field a good and strong board. So it's a topic that takes a while to plan ahead for. And I think just being, prepared for that would be helpful. And I do know there's 9 members on the Supreme Court. Just saying, I added in our 2 administrators, but that's it. So, yeah, that's where my thoughts are.
So I think 9 is a really good number. Having been here for a year, having watched it beforehand, I think it works pretty well with 9. I like the fact that we can manage to have committees where there's 3 people in a committee. That gets harder to do if you have a smaller board, but you then face the question of, do we have fewer committees? I think a lot of work is done in committee, and it helps pre-digest things, and that helps keep the meetings of the 9 of us to a little bit less lengthy than they would be otherwise. I think that in a democracy, larger is probably better, although I'm not going to suggest that we go bigger than 9. I think that's the upper limit, really. The size of the district, I don't think that matters one way or the other. As to getting people to run for the board, that's a significant point. If people are happy with how the board is doing, probably you don't see people trying to get on the board. Let George do it, and they're doing okay. On the other hand, if people have a different viewpoint and think that we're not doing so good, they might step up and say so. Perhaps we need to look at a process for sending the word out whenever the elections are in the very early stages, that there's vacancies and that they're created by the process of our bylaws or the state rules and regulations, and therefore, even though there's somebody sitting in the seat, that becomes a vacancy and they have to run for it again. And some people will say, I'm not running again. And then you really have a real vacancy, and you start recruiting and getting the word out very early on. I know there's been times when this board years ago had trouble filling seats and pretty much had to go out and beat the drum and say, will somebody please run for the Board of Ed? And that's not a comfortable situation. We haven't had that for a while. It could happen again. I think Bill has lived through a few of those periods. I wouldn't want to go away from the 9 for the reasons that I stated. I'm comfortable with this.
And I just want to add as well that there's been times even with a 9-member board that we've had trouble like having a quorum, even though we have 9 members in order to conduct.
A lot of times, so if you look back at the time that I've been on the board, it's because there was a vacant seat or 2.
But we can, that's fine.
I'm in favor of keeping the 9. I mean, I haven't heard any overwhelming reasons as to why a 9-member board is bad. I mean, the kind of things that people are talking about as reason to go to a lesser, we're like, oh, can we maybe have the meetings a little bit shorter or something like along that? But I mean, to me, that's not an overwhelming reason to do it. I mean, number one, as already been mentioned a few times, the committees. The less people you have on the board, I mean, I'm assuming that we need all those committees. Otherwise, why are we just having them? And if you need them, I mean, the less people, it means there's less representation on the committees. And more importantly, if you have a smaller board, that means you have less seats open, and that means I have a concern that you won't get the diversity of opinions that you get now. I mean, if you look at how our city elections are run, you have wards, and part of the reason you have wards is to get representation on the city council that may not be there if it was strictly a majority of the entire city won. If we go to lesser people on this board, and so there'll be less seats open, you start to get to the point where the majority will always pick the candidate. You may have somebody who has really good opinions and enthusiasm, and just because they're say the minority, may not get on the board. When you have 3 seats, there's more of a chance you get more diverse opinions, and I think that's very important in a diverse community like ours.
So I agree with, I also agree with the 9-member board. I think that going to a 7-member board, and it opens up for people who all think alike to then pretty much, monopolize the board, and you may not get all the viewpoints across. It just, to me, at the last, the vacancies that we had, I think there were 6 candidates going for 2 seats, so there's definitely an interest. Everyone speaks of Beacon getting involved, and more people are getting involved, and you can see how involved people want to be because they wanted us to change this meeting possibly so that they can attend and be a part of both. So I think those are people who are interested in what's happening in the school board as well. So I don't think that you'll have a shortage of people. I think you'll be increasing opportunity for those that really should be sitting in this seat to be a part of the process here that affects the lives of all the children represented in this school district. And then I have another situation that's going to fall underneath the new business.
Is that related to the, did you want to finish?
No, I'm done.
So yeah, just for the overwhelming reason though, it just seems like there's this line of like 3 people making decision or a majority rule or something like that. So I'm just curious about, is that something that we're really concerned about, that we feel like people vote as a block or something?
No, but I'm saying like if it's a smaller board, you can fall into that. It's not that, not trying to say that that's what's happening, but it's very likely that the same would just, and you kind of see, as Anthony said in Poughkeepsie, too, that, you know, there's a block that are voting like that, and then things can be put on.
Yeah, I just wasn't, I guess I should clarify.
Right,
was asking
no, I
about, like-
just wanted to know, like, you know, that's a possibility that could happen, and you could fall into that, and that with a 9-member board, we have a more diverse representation.
Yeah, I was just asking if that, like, I was looking at the Poughkeepsie thing as kind of an anomaly, but I didn't know if that.
But it
does
could
happen.
occur.
Perhaps
It could
happen
occur.
elsewhere.
It can happen with a 9-member board. I mean, we had a big turnover, so, and it changed the thinking, so. Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it now as a 9-member board, we're all very active. We're all, I was gonna say the same thing Craig was saying about the committees. You know, if we did have less members, we'd have probably have to attend more committee meetings. So it's good to kind of spread the work. I think at some point when, and there's also, I'm sorry, so I want to say that, you know, again, this is not for a vote today, and it's just, NISBA had sent over a chart of different schools, different budgets and different enrollments, and how many board members they have. If the board members are interested, I can circulate that. If based on this discussion, they're not interested in it, then that's fine. Then it would be, what I do feel that maybe perhaps we may need is just more retreats, that's all.
Okay.
More retreats.
More time
retreats.
together.
Yes.
Boy, I
All
have
right.
some topics of discussion for that.
On that note, any other discussion about board size? No?
I thank everyone for your thoughtful comments about it, I think.
Absolutely. All right, so we have a couple.
Can I interrupt you for a moment? How do we just email you if we want something placed on the agenda?
Do it before Wednesdays of the next board meeting. So like for this board meeting, do it like before Wednesday, so then, yeah, and just email.
Because I feel like we need to.
Or you could
select-
say,
She wants new business, right?
Yeah, well, this was unfinished because I'm assuming that we just never got to it at the last board meeting or never really.
it was on there, and then there was a follow-up email about it. I think, and everybody was, so I didn't CC everybody because it was to everybody.
So I guess I just, you know, you're talking about retreats, and I know we've had retreats, and we've had some like real clarification of our roles as board members and what our procedures should be. I just feel like it's something that maybe we need to revisit as our role, and then as we're communicating out in the public.
Absolutely.
So I'll email you.
Thank you. All right, so 11.01 is the approve a resolution to declare the district-wide capital project a Type 2 seeker action. Is there a motion to approve the resolution to declare the district-wide capital project a Type 2 seeker action?
So moved. Second.
That was Bill. Anthony, second. Is there any comment or questions? This is a roll call vote, correct, Kelly?
Yep.
All right.
Ms. Flynn? Aye. Ms. Hewer?
Yes.
Ms. Patchen?
Yes.
Mr. Markowski is excused. Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Zock?
Yes.
Ms. Gadsden?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes.
It's 8-0.
11.02 is to adopt a resolution of necessity dated September 25th, 2017. And it's a roll call vote. I need a motion to approve 11.02.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Kenya? Comments or questions? All right, Kelly, roll call.
Ms. Flynn? Yes. Ms. Hewer?
Yes.
Ms. Patchen?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Zock?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes.
It's 8-0.
I need a motion for 11.03, which is to approve the bond resolution dated September 25, 2017. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
That was Kristen, that was Bill. Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry, it's a roll
Right,
call. I was checking to see if you guys were on your toes. I said all these for roll call, and I just wanted to see if you guys were paying
Right,
attention and
yes.
listening, you know?
You got it, you best speak, President.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes.
Ms. Hewer?
Yes.
Ms. Patchen?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Zopp?
Yes.
Ms. Gadsden?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
And yes.
It's 8-0.
All right, I need a motion to approve the resolution to approve the election proceedings. For the couple of projects. And that was Bill. Is there a second? Anthony?
Yeah.
Comments or questions? All right, roll call vote.
Ms. Flynn?
Yes.
Ms. Hewer?
Yes.
Ms. Patchen?
Yes.
Mr. Singh?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Zopp?
Yes.
Ms. Gadsden?
Yes.
Mr. Wade?
Yes. Hey. Going forth with the capital project. I know Mike is not here, but he would be elated if he was here. He would just be beaming, sitting over there high in his chair. So, Mike, congratulations for all the hard work that you've done as the chairperson of the Facility and Operations Committee. It is well earned, and I'm excited to see how this improves the district. All right. So the consent agenda. The use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make more effective use of its time by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate, and that item will be considered and voted on separately, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. Is there anything that anybody would like pulled from the consent agenda?
Are we gonna do the donation? Thank you for the donation. That's usually what we do.
What is it?
12.07.
What is it?
12.07.
12.07 is pulled. Any others? All right, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda minus 12.07.
So moved.
That was Georgia and then Kristen.
Good second.
Comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0. I need a motion for 12.07.
Motion.
Second.
That was Anthony, and then that was Kristen. Comments or questions?
We're always gonna pull it, why can't we just?
Exactly what I was going to say. We might as well just keep it off and put its own items since nobody gets pulled.
It's just the process of pulling it to thank the person.
Well, you can thank them, we can thank them.
I know I can, but it's like you
It'll
gotta
save
really
some
give it.
board time.
Thank you to the little people.
There's a lot of other ways we could save board time besides thanking someone for a donation.
I think it's worth a mention that this is kind of a new entrant among those who are making donations to the school district. She started this business a few years ago, and it's nice to see it turned into a fundraiser with the Glenham Kindergarten face painting deal. Thanks. Thank you, Katie.
Yes.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0 with thanks. I need a motion to adjourn to executive session to review the employment history of a particular individual, as the board is not expected to take action after executive session.
So moved.
Second.
That was Georgia, Kristen, comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried 8-0.